Look with me at Romans 1:23. And changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like to corruptible man and to birds and four-footed beasts and creeping things. Now here's what's going on here. As man's heart is darkened, he reimagines God in the image of man and beasts and even insects. So like you probably remember this from high school, but you remember the Greek gods and the Roman gods, and they're all petty, and they fight with each one another over stupid things, and they actually behave just like men? Well, that's the reimagination of God as man. What societies do all the time is they choose to worship creatures. There are some cultures on earth that worship cows, some that worship dung beetles. Why is that? Well, what's happening is men have rejected the knowledge of the true God, and what Romans 1:23 says, they've changed that glory into what? Into an image made like to corruptible man, into birds and four-footed beasts and creeping things. Look with me at Psalm 106, verse 19. They made a calf in Horeb. This, of course, is a molten calf. And worshipped the molten image. Verse 20. Thus they changed their glory into the similitude of an ox that eateth grass. In other words, they traded the glory of the uncorruptible God that belonged to them, this is what Israel did, and they changed that glory into the similitude of an ox. What a poor trade, right? Let me suggest to you this. Well, actually, let me read verse 20 and verse 21 together. Thus they changed their glory into the similitude of an ox that eateth grass. They forgat God their Savior, which had done great things in Egypt. Isn't that fascinating? And doesn't that verse operate on more than one level? They forgot their Savior that saved them out of Egypt, but God is also their Savior in the sense that He's the God that's going to provide provision for their sins. That's the God they rejected. Romans 1:23 says this, and changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like to corruptible man. Then it says, and to birds and four-footed beasts and creeping things. In Genesis, God made man in God's image. And you know what man does? He reimaginates God in man's image. Now, by the way, I don't think it's a coincidence that man changes the glory of the uncorruptible God into birds and four-footed beasts and creeping things. Why would man do that? Look with me at Genesis 1:26. Genesis 1:26. Genesis chapter 1 and verse 26. And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. So man's created in the image of God. Now notice this. And let them have the dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. If you look in Romans 1:23 at what man does, he changes the glory of the uncorruptible God into these animals. Animals that man has been given dominion over in Genesis 1:26. You know what man does? Here's what man does. Man's created in God's image, meaning we're subservient to Him. We're inferior to Him. We're created by Him. We need to worship Him. And what man does is man reimagines God and says, nope, you're not the uncorruptible God. You're a bird, a beast, a creeping thing that man was given dominion over. It's man's rebellion against the created order. God, you're not transcendent and we have to answer to you. No, God, you're in our image. That's the wickedness, the ridiculousness of man's thinking. And it is the natural result of when men do not worship God, retain God in their knowledge the way that they are supposed to.